Welcome back to another episode of Netflix and Chill. Today we've decided that we're going to review the most talked about film over the past 3 days, the Cloverfield Paradox.
Possible earthquake near the Statue of Liberty.
Looks like you should have left town a little bit earlier.
Whatever you're doing, stop.
So, Terry, I guess we're going to have to do like a coin toss to find out who has to eat the horribly spicy hot sauce and give the synopsis. What are you betting on? I'm calling heads already. So,
I think that this is going to be the most interesting coin toss since the Super Bowl.
It stuck to my hand. I'm so sweaty. Oh, it's heads. I win. It's you. No.
Oh my god. You kidding me, dude? Are you kidding me?
There you go. Oh, it's dripping. Alrighty. So, Terry, can you please tell us what the Cloverfield Paradox was about? Whenever you're ready.
So the Cloverfield Paradox is about the Cloverfield Paradox is about starts off with there's an energy crisis on planet Earth. We're running out of resources, so we assemble a team of scientists to go out into space and to experiment with this particle accelerator to create a new form of energy and bring it down back to Earth to save the human race. But things do not unfold as planned, and as a result, multiple dimensions are created from this particle collision, and things unfold on the space station that we did not expect. And that's pretty much it.
Wow, that was like the best summary that you've ever given on this show. I think we found our recipe. You know, let me say, Cloverfield, the very first Cloverfield film, came out in 2008, and it was kind of groundbreaking. And I don't mean that in a literal way because the giant monster was breaking the ground, but because it was a found footage movie about a giant monster. Then came 10 Cloverfield Lane, surprisingly out of nowhere, almost a decade later, that starred John Goodman and Mary Elizabeth Winstead in an isolated sort of bottle drama that took place within a bunker, or a cellar, which it was originally titled. Now, we're on round number 3 with the Cloverfield Paradox, where we see ourselves in outer motherfucking space. So the Cloverfield Paradox was unveiled, announced during the middle of the Super Bowl this year as a commercial 30-second teaser, and then it was announced that it was going to be streamed, premiered right after the Super Bowl was over. Now, I wasn't sure when the Super Bowl was going to be over, but I was stoked to see this movie because I did love the first 2 movies. I thought they were very interesting in their own. I don't think they're necessarily masterpieces, but I thought that they were very thought-provoking and very engaging and very different. Cloverfield Paradox, well, to be honest with you, it fell a little flat. What do you think, Terry?
My take on Cloverfield Paradox is that it seemed like it was they had the largest production budget out of all 3, but because it was a straight to Netflix film, I think they really skimped out and they kind of cheapened out on the special effects. It wasn't the same caliber in terms of visual effects and cinematography as something that we're accustomed to, like Gravity or Life, the recent one that came out, or even Sunshine, Danny Boyle's movie.
Sure.
Those were more cinematically beautiful. This one kind of was in some scenes really cheesy, the first couple of films were more, I think, on a serious note, whereas this one tried to tie in a comedic relief with
Chris O'Dowd.
Chris O'Dowd. He really irked me in this film. Like, I didn't think that he belonged whatsoever. He didn't add to even the crew. I don't even know what his role was. He seemed to be like some sort of mechanic.
Every line that Chris O'Dowd said was either contrary to what somebody else was saying or was some sort of comedic punchline. When they use the Shepherd beam right at the beginning, they mention that they can't find the Earth. And then Chris O'Dowd says,
"The entire Earth is not gone."
And then there's noises heard behind a wall. And they're like, there's noises coming from behind this wall. And Chris O'Dowd says,
"Walls don't make noises like that."
Everything that they say, he's always saying, no, that can't be it. But you don't expect it to be as dumb as it actually ends up being. That's the one part that kind of took me by surprise, because they set up a lot of things that they just don't follow through with. Like, I found that the main character, Ava, her husband, is on Earth, and he finds this young girl within the rubble where they have their first big reveal of the shadows of, like, a giant creature. And then he ends up sort of fostering her and taking her under his wing and going to a bunker. And they don't really do much with that. They don't really create a connection. And I think that's a big problem with this movie, too, is you don't really connect to any of the characters in it, because there are a lot of characters. It was shoddily written, and I think that a big thing to take into consideration with this film, as any of the films in this Cloververse, is that these films were not made as Cloverfield sequels or prequels or anything. They had absolutely no affiliation with Cloverfield. 10 Cloverfield Lane started off as a film called Valencia, and then it turned into a film called The Cellar. It had nothing to do with Cloverfield in 2008, but they just sort of tacked on this stuff at the end, put it in the title, added a few things here and there that seemed like afterthoughts, and then that became a Cloverfield movie. And I think that a lot of that was because they knew that it would market it a bit better, because people probably wouldn't go and see the movie called The Cellar. And then this movie, it's like, it was originally called The God Particle. I think what J.J. Abrams intended to do with this film is, by having this dimensional shift, or like the ability to travel or transverse different dimensions, that it creates this possibility of anything happening. Therefore, Bad Robot can take literally any movie premise or concept and make it a Cloverfield movie. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a rom-com 5 years from now starring like Dave Franco and Anna Kendrick, and then at the end, like, a monster comes out of the ocean, and it's just like, boom, it was part of the Cloverfield universe all along. Well, after talking about this film as long as we did, we've decided to rate this movie 4 beer cans out of 10 beer cans. We didn't really like it. It's not the worst movie ever made, but it definitely sucks. And in comparison with the other Cloverfield movies, it's the worst in the universe. So my advice to you is probably just pick up a pack of cold shots, because that numbs it all. Oh, God. There you have it. There you heard it. 4 beer cans out of 10 beer cans. Steer clear of this movie. It stinks, smells like poop, and you might want to watch something else. There's many different choices on Netflix. Watch more of our videos to find out what's actually good.